today we're going to go through a little bit of Homelander and what brought us to that scene. Yes, that scene, when we see him at the end in the elevator. I think that for Homelander, there's a lot that went into his psychology, that need to cut out all of the pieces of him that he sees as weak, the pieces that he sees as his humanity, and this buildup of his anger with these pieces within himself that ends up driving him to the point of wanting to cut them out of him, to push away those feelings of guilt, regret, and being human. So let's take a look at some of the scenes that I think epitomizes some of the pieces of his humanity that he wishes to cut out from him.
Maybe if I'd raised you, I could have made you better. And not some weak, sniveling, starved for attention.
Weak? You.
I know. You're a disappointment.
I think that there's a lot of people in Homelander's life that have mirrored back or shown him that they're disappointed in him feeling. And I think that that is that driving force of why he doesn't think that that makes him good enough. This questioning that he has over having emotions and having feelings. And I think that for a lot of people, they try to cut out the parts of them that they don't like because these feelings are uncomfortable. In the end, though, it's our feelings that allow us to know what makes us happy or not. They're the guiding force that help us make choices that will actually make us happy. And the problem is that you cut those pieces out of you. What ends up happening is you just don't know who you are without them because you're so busy trying to live this life to make everyone else happy, this version of what everyone else wants from you instead of what you want for yourself. And it's often these people that we look up to that it sticks the most, that it kind of resonates and it keeps on playing back, especially if the thing that they say has a part of knowledge of what you already worry about yourself as well. And those are the things that really stand out and ring. Like, this is the proof that I really am not as good as what I wished that I was, or strong as what I hoped to be. And that's why it can be so very damaging, especially if you don't have a very strong sense of self. When Homelander sees this white hair, it's this thought of his own mortality. And when you think about you being a god and then having this come to you, that even though your powers are godlike, you still age. And if you age, that means that you'll die. That piece of your humanity you would also hate, this part of him that is not godlike, which is another thing that I think makes him want to push these parts of him away. I'm not so sure about keeping it in a creepy jar. Don't do that. It is something common for us when we look at and notice our own mortality or a death comes to us, that we can go through this feeling of existential dread, this fear of ceasing of our own existence. And for other people, it might be something different. It might be a gray hair, but it might be a wrinkle, or it might be feeling sick, or it might be seeing someone else that is our age having something horrible happen to them. And then we think about the fact that it could happen to us as well. And that can give us an anxiety spin. And then if you think about being godlike, having all of these powers, all of this control, and to have all of that come crashing down, as that is more fantasy than reality, because he's aging just like everyone else. He has all these powers, but he has a question that he doesn't have a solution for. And for a lot of people, they could say that that would be considered a midlife crisis.
You are simply bad product.
It's your destiny. It's just a
Mommy and a daddy and a boo.
It's because deep down, there's a part of you that is still a little human.
Him failing people, him hurting people, him feeling guilt about it. And that's his humanity coming back to him. And I think that he believes that if he can get rid of it, that he can cut out that piece of humanity, he won't have to feel guilt, regret, or being upset that he's disappointed people. For a lot of people, that's actually the worst. And he has this want to make people proud, to caretake their feelings. And that disappointment, that's usually that's for many people the worst thing to hear from someone, is that I'm disappointed in you. And he feels that he's disappointed many people, and the people that he disappoints, he often then has to get rid of, thinking that if he gets rid of them as a person, it'll get rid of that feeling from within himself. But unfortunately, that's not true, because in the end, the disappointment that he feels is from within, not from the outside.
I totally agree. He's a mensch. Did I use that word right? Mensch?
You just said he was crazy.
What I meant was we would be crazy to, you know, not bring him in.
Surrounded by sycophants and
It's just that you make a lot of really great points, sir.
When you know that people are just saying yes to you, not because they really feel this way, but they're going to do anything because they're scared, or because you're powerful, or because you're famous and they look up to you, it does become meaningless. And because it's meaningless, it doesn't bring you meaning, because all of it is a lie. He needs to find meaning from other things that are more real, that hold actual substance. And the problem is that he's created this world of people being around him because they're scared, that will say whatever he wants. Then he's not getting an honest reflection of their feelings. And when people are scared, they're going to say whatever they have to in order to survive. And so now he truly is alone. Homelander, because he spent so much time alone, that's another one of his main fears.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Not one of you has the stomach to challenge anything I say. Oh my God. I have got to carry this entire company on my shoulders.
You're right.
And that was one of his fears, of being alone, being left alone, but also that if the company fails now, it's all on his shoulders. He has no one else to blame.
The company is yours. You'll come to sorely regret that. The world will recognize you for the pitiful disappointment you are. You are not worthy of my respect. You are not a god. You are simply bad product.
Because that would be another sign that he is not perfect. And a lot of people that fear failure will actually avoid or give something up or have something that they can use as a scapegoat so that the failure doesn't fall on them.
Based on your public appearances, your stylist is dyeing your hair more often. Used to be every month, now it's every 2.4 weeks. Did she tell you you're going gray, or is she hiding it? So between that and your enlarged prostate...
My what?
Oh, look at your hands. You've been washing them more often, so likely you've been peeing more often, which makes sense. You got a lot of power, but you do age.
And it's a hard thing when other people point out and can realize that you're getting older. It's not just that society judges that, but I think that it's also especially for Homelander. He's so used to everyone looking at him as perfect. He's trying so hard to be perfect that all of these he sees as other flaws. These are all of his human parts that he doesn't want to have. And when you're surrounded by all of these yes people, all of these sycophants, you start to believe that that's true for you, that you are a god. And then to have all of these pieces of reality, because that's just a facade, no one is perfect, no one, that it kind of crashes down because you didn't even realize it. You believed the lie. And our brains can be really adept at lying to us.
Plus, there's that small matter your own father almost killed you.
Wow.
Any mouth breather could see you're going through some existential midlife. Whatever.
I like that she knew that she started to tread on thin ice, that this was a dangerous area. And so she didn't say the word crisis, which might be a word that might make him feel even more fragile. And when you're dealing with someone that has narcissistic traits, you can go through my video on Homelander, and you're dealing with someone, you have to be careful with what you say. I think that you should always be careful, though, with the words that you use with other people. There's no real reason to try to make someone feel more fragile or small.
I need advice from someone on my level. God, I've spent my life scaling the peak of VOD. It's all I ever wanted, and then now that I have it...
You're still not happy.
And that's the thing when we talk about the things that actually make us happy. Often people think that it is power, prestige, fame, being looked up to. But in the end, that's ephemeral. It isn't real. It doesn't actually feed who we are as a person. And especially when you're going through, what do I want the rest of my life to be like? And we're looking at our own mortality. We're often trying to see, how can I be truly, substantially happy? And those are usually internal processes of actually making a difference, making a change. And it's difficult if you've been living your life for what everyone else wants from you, or what you think you want for yourself, but it's just been what you've told that you should do. Often you've lost the pieces of yourself that can give you that information. The thing that he's trying to cut out of himself, his humanity, are the things that would show him what he would actually need to do to be truly happy. And that becomes really difficult. You become like a ship without a sail. And I think that also the things that would make him happy are in the areas of himself that he doesn't feel comfortable, the parts that he's trying to cut out of himself. And so it's almost like the closer that he gets to that, the more he wants to run away and have to do even more horrific things to prove that he isn't the person that he would then have to be. And it sounds kind of circular. We often have to go to those dark places, or the places that are sensitive, the places that feel, in order to actually understand the things we really need. And those are exactly the places that he doesn't want to go, because they make him feel vulnerable and weak at the same time.
Save people, they cheer. Kill people, they cheer. It's meaningless. Humans are nothing. They're less than nothing. They're just toys for my amusement, and yet they control everything.
I think that a lot of people want to find meaning in something, and they're always searching for something to fill into that void that is themselves, to bring meaning to their existence. And that's a huge question that we deal with in therapy. The thing is that you're never really going to find it from an outside source. You really have to be in touch with yourself and the things that matter to you and why. We think that it is in the superficial things of, if I climb this many mountains, that'll mean that I'm meaningful and that I have value, or if that I make this much money, or if I'm this important. But it only feeds you for a moment, and then it goes away. The things that bring meaning are the things that are sustainable internal mechanisms inside of yourself. And only you can answer that question of what really, truly brings meaning to you. But to do that, you have to look inside of you and allow yourself to feel. And I think that that is the dilemma, that battle that Homelander has within himself.
What kind of legacy am I going to leave to my son? A country and a world, or something better? Something pure, cleansed, like marble.
You do realize that probably won't make you happy either.
Still, tell me how you'd go about it.
And Sister Sage is right. Him wanting this sanitized world would be fake as well. She understands that he's not ready to be able to actually hear what the truth of what will make him happy. I think that a lot of that is what he runs from. I think that for a lot of us, that's what we run from, because the things that would truly make us happy involve risk, involve getting to know ourselves in a very intimate way, looking at all of those dark places where we sometimes exist, and being able to expect more from ourselves. And I think that that's really hard, not just for people that have superpowers like Homelander, but I think that just for general people, it can be really uncomfortable to look at yourself in an honest way, the good and the bad.
What? You love him so much, when did you get him to be your dad?
No, I don't want him to be my dad. You're
Enough! Enough!
scene shows how much Homelander is trying to be a better father to Ryan. And I go through an entire episode, Homelander's parenting skills, you can take a look at it. And I think that for him, it matters a lot because he didn't have a father to raise him. And so it means a lot to him to be able to have his own son. And a lot of people have a child and hope that that will fill the void of being needed and wanted by someone in a way that is much more deep. But that void can't be filled by having a child. It's a void that you have to fill on your own.
John, come here. You really made a mess this time, Tiger.
And yes, this reminds me of the other scene that he had with the mirror before, but I'm not going to go into that one because I've already dealt with that one, so you can take a look at that video on your own afterwards. But yes, it's reflected in this scene. Haha.
Come on, champ, pull yourself together. Deep breath. For God's sakes, look at you. A few Starlighters hate you. Ryan spent some time with Butcher, and boo-hoo, you're a mess. You have to be stronger, John.
And this is actually quite accurate to what happens within ourselves, that inner monologue that we often have, and all the different pieces that battle it out. And which is the piece that wins? Well, the one that's more practiced, the one that you pay attention to. And we often have this voice of reason, and this voice of kindness, and this voice that's malicious, this voice that just wants to get rid of things that cause us angst. But our inner monologue, the way that we speak about ourselves and our actions, really does change who we are. And if it is malevolent or abusive, it can be exceptionally damaging. It's one of those things that I think that we should be taught in schools how to deal with in a way that is healthy instead of maladaptive.
For Ryan, you still need love. You're pushing so much love. You still crave it. That's not true. You're gonna make him weak and needy like you. You can still fix things. He's your son.
This also goes to that scene with Soldier Boy saying that you're weak and a disappointment to me. And because of that, because that was such a significant event for him, I think that he does not want to do that to his child because he sees that he's been taught that that's what he shouldn't do. And that's the problem, is that we're not taught how to parent, and if we're not taught how to parent, then we're just going to parent by what we think is right or how our parents parented us. Even if we know it's wrong, sometimes that can happen. Because in times of trauma and stress, that's when our brain is actually recording how to behave in those situations. Because he's heard that and it's set, he believes that that must be true, and so he has to do something about it before it damages not only himself, but Ryan.
Everyone hates you. It's time to overcome this need for love, this sickness, once and for all.
And that other part of him, the one that was quiet the other time, like it really looks to me like that's his inner child, the wound, the young him, the one that doesn't really speak up for himself, those parts of him that have been hurt and are not really listened to and heard.
You're never gonna be your true self until you transcend your humanity. What do? You need to go back to the start.
When you deal with that inner monologue, you want to be able to hear what that part of you says. And it's interesting to me, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it's interesting to me that when that part was about to speak,
everyone hates you.
That parental part, the part that's going to problem solve and just fix things, hushes and stops him from speaking. And that often happens, that we shut out that part of us, and so it never really gets heard. It always ends up feeling abandoned. And that's what you want to undo. And I'll just give a little caveat that if you've gone through your own trauma, hearing it from someone else can sometimes be really difficult, or it can kind of open up those wounds. So you might want to tread lightly. We're going to be just discussing it, hearing it spoken about, but sometimes that can bring up your own hurts and pains from your childhood or your experiences as well. So you might want to skip over some of these parts just in case.
You made the shot, you did a little fist pump to celebrate, and then you turned up the temperature to see if you could burn my skin. Even though my skin didn't char, it still really hurt. A lot. Yeah, I was in there, screaming in agony. I was just doing my job.
I think that, especially when you're sharing your trauma, that you've been hurt by someone else, the response of, I didn't know any better, or I was just doing my job, it doesn't really answer to the feelings of what Homelander hopes for, that someone that's sharing this hopes for. They are hoping that someone else can empathize with or understand their pain and what it caused them, to be able to be a part of their part of the journey. Often when we're confronted with something that we've done wrong, our first thing is a defense, which is common for us to do, but it's something that we're doing for ourselves instead of for someone else. To be able to listen to, and I won't even say carry, because that is not something that everyone might have the capacity to be able to do, but to be able to at least reflect an understanding and validate someone else's experience is a huge gift. Again, a skill we're often not taught. But that's often why we share our pain with someone else, in hope that we can get a better understanding of where we are and why.
You know, I had nightmares about that exact moment, and you can't even remember it. It's funny, isn't it, how people can have such a different memory of the exact same thing.
And that's true. And maybe neither of them are completely accurate. Yet for Frank, he looked at John more as a science experiment, something that he had to test, something that wasn't human. And I think that that makes it easier for us to dismiss someone else's pain. We sometimes dehumanize things in order to get over being able to commit things that are harmful on others. And I think that that's one of the reasons probably that he didn't really feel it, or we often block out things that are traumatic as well.
Hey, Frank, this is my last shot. Why don't you go and watch from in there?
John, why don't we...
Homelander.
And I think that Homelander doesn't just want to cut out his humanity by doing this. I think that he also wants Frank to understand the trauma and pain that he went through. For revenge, it's often the poison, similar to jealousy. It's like the poison that we end up drinking. By doing this, he's trying to cut out his humanity, hoping that by him treating himself the way others do, one, is they might understand a little more of what they did to him and feel a little touch of his pain, and that might make him feel a justice. But it doesn't actually erase what he went through. And I think that it is another piece of him trying to push his humanity away by committing these atrocities, by becoming the monster that they made him. And he believes that pushing his humanity away will help him, will allow him to be this hardened person without feeling guilt or care or want or need. And a lot of people do cut away their feelings just to be able to work or do the process at hand. And there are times where that can actually be helpful, to be able to get a job done that has to be done, or to be able to survive in very difficult situations. It doesn't bring you fulfillment because you don't know what fulfillment is, because in order to feel that, you have to allow your humanity to exist again, to be able to feel. Because if you don't feel, how do you know what makes you truly happy? And for a lot of people, they don't even know what they want for simple things. Their favorite color or pizza or the thing that they want to do right now.
That's right, John.
Homelander.
Homelander, we were friends. I was always nice to you.
Yeah, that's right. You were.
I think that it's also really significant that Homelander doesn't want to be called John. One, John is a sense of his humanity. That's him, his human name. And so he wants to be called by his superhero name, but also it's that sign of authority, to remember that I am better than you, to be able to put himself above the parts of himself that are human.
I used to be left in there for hours, days on end, completely alone, right?
And out of all types of torture that psychologically is not physically damaging, but psychologically very damaging, being alone, feeling like there's no one that you have, really is harmful for us. We are, by large, social creatures that feel good when we feel like we have someone to be around us. And it can be really damaging on us psychologically, and also can cause us a lot of difficulty to be with other people again, because we haven't learned all of the skills that would happen naturally if we're around other people. Hopefully other people that are kind and thoughtful. Even with animals that live in groups, can be so damaging to be able to reintegrate afterwards and to be able to read and understand and feel a sense of security. This can commonly cause a strong sense of fear of abandonment and an attachment injury that can often go through our entire lives until we actually decide, if we actually decide to be able to work on it.
That when you did your rounds at night, I had about a couple of minutes to myself, and that would be the only time of day that I would feel anything good. And you caught me with my pants down. You had a really, really good laugh at me, remember? And that's when you nicknamed me Squirt.
And to be laughed at, especially when you're a teen trying to form your own identity and who you are, and to be able to be laughed at when you're expressing your own sexuality can also cause so much trauma to your own sense of self and your feelings of safety. Because if someone that's supposed to be taking care of you is the one laughing at you, what safety do you feel? And he already felt alone, and this was one of the few times that he felt anything besides being alone and pain. And if you yourself are going through a lot of pain or a lot of trauma, you want to be able to reach out. I'll leave some links in the description if you yourself are going through a lot of trauma, or after watching this, you found this very difficult.
Stop it, John.
Barbara. The cake's melted, I'm afraid.
Please put him out of his misery.
He would have died from that. I don't know why she's saying just kill him. He could have went to the hospital. He could have been saved. I would assume that it was all cauterized at the same time, but anyways. Okay, that's a different discussion for a different time.
You know why I used to call this the bad room?
It's just a room, John. It's neither good nor bad.
That's easy to say from the other side of the door. No.
Did you come back here just to torment those people? Doesn't that feel a little small?
The dialogue that Barbara has with Homelander, I think, is really intriguing because it seems antagonistic that she talks down to him. And I think that that might have been a technique that used to work when he was younger. I find that kind of condescension actually creates anger. I felt angry at her talking about his pain in such a minimalistic way, whether you agree with what he's doing or not.
They were just following orders, Dr. Vogelbaum's, Stan Edgar's, and mine.
Yeah, but they followed them. Not one of them had the backbone to stand up and say, this is wrong.
Because they were scared.
I was a child.
They were scared.
And it sounds like her words to him do carry a certain amount of authority. He does listen. Someone that isn't a sycophant. He says sycophant. I don't know, sycophant, psychophant's one of them. When someone is speaking to him like an equal directly, it does seem to sink in. It seems like there's definitely a chance that he might listen or care to hear what her opinion is.
We have no physical power over you. We never did. You could have broken out of here anytime you wanted. We couldn't have stopped you, but you didn't.
It's interesting because that is also true. A lot of times, even with large animals, if they're taught that they can't do something, eventually they start to believe that, even when they can. You think about elephants that at first are given chains when they're young so that they believe that they can't break the chains, but then later just a simple rope that they would be able to break out of unless they become really angry and then try to. It will restrain them. In the end, our belief of what we are capable of is often what limits us, not the actual limitations of the world around us. I think that if we realize that, we can reach our true potential. I think that that's a lot of what John wants, to reach his true potential, but his manner to be able to do it and what he believes he needs to do to reach his true potential is skewed by all of the hurts and all of the wounds that have been imposed upon him.
Because you couldn't stand the idea that we would be disappointed in you. Your need for approval and for love?
Like, I don't know what her motivation is by speaking this way to him. I don't know if she was purposely trying to gain his ire so that he could take it out on her and she could save everyone else that was there, or that she was enjoying the power and control in a cruel way over on him and enjoyed rubbing that in. But it definitely didn't seem like this was a way that he would feel any kind of validation and leave without hurting someone. And so I think that her technique in being able to de-escalate a situation is quite poor.
Doesn't matter what you do to Mayor or the rest of the staff here. Your need for love is so deep. It's so human. You'll never be able to overcome that.
And for him, that's like speaking slurs to him. These are the things that he's running away from. So by her reflecting this back to him, it just fires him further to be able to push that away. And yes, people actually do that. Often when we feel like we're going to be accused of something anyways, we might as well just be that, because that's what we're going to be blamed for, whether we do it or we don't. And a lot of times when we're worried about our humanity, or we see that our feelings are the things that hurt us, we do try to cut them out or create such horrible situations that we could never come back from, so that it would just be easier. We don't at least have to struggle because of that. And so a lot of times we become the monster that we've created in our own mind. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and that can be really damaging. And that's also why therapy and being able to really come to terms with who you are and understanding and hearing that negative self-talk, which most of it is usually a lie in the first place, can be so healing to be able to deal with all the trauma that we've gone through.
I'm not human, and neither is my son. And I'm gonna raise him so that he knows it.
Which is another reason that I think that he is doing this, because he believes that raising his son without feelings and emotions, being stronger and above that, would be a good way to parent. And the meaning behind that smile that is debated a lot, I think that for him, he believes that by doing this, committing this atrocity against all of these people, some that had a hand in what created these wounds, this hurt inside of himself, and some that didn't. I think that he believes that that is his final piece, to be able to cut out that humanity from who he is, that now he's free of it. The problem is that it isn't one simple action that can be able to heal or even to get rid of who we actually are. It will usually come back to the surface because it's much deeper than that. I know that we all wish we could be as smart as Sister Sage, and I can't exactly give you that, but with today's sponsor, Brilliant.org, you can get that close. Learn, enhance, grow with Brilliant's ever-growing set of new courses. And Brilliant makes college-level courses available to help you be as smart as a whip, and you don't have to go through as many books as Sister Sage did. Each course is designed for high velocity, yes, soup fast velocity learning to help you stay focused, reach your goals, and become the smartest woman, man, person. And Brilliant makes learning like a game with fun features that let you challenge yourself, compete with others, and it never gets dull. And we know that when learning is fun and engaging, knowledge sticks better, so you remember more easily and quickly. And Brilliant has thousands of lessons. They have math, chemistry, physics, engineering, computer science, and so many more, with new lessons added monthly. I've done the courses on algebra, logic, geometry, and I really did enjoy them. I really did. So I just practice for 15 minutes a day. That's really all that you need. And the cool part is that when you learn on your own, you can learn at the pace that you want to without feeling any pressure. Now, if you want to know some of the new courses, they have how large language models work. If you don't know what that means, check it out and then you'll know. And they also have the intro to probability. You can figure out what the probability is that you could become Sister Sage, smart or not. And if you're still not sure, just try everything that Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, a month. Visit brilliant.org/Georgia Dow. Yes, click on my link. It does help me, even if you're doing it for absolutely free. Then you can try it out for yourself. And a lot of people tell me that they don't actually have time to learn a new skill. And I always say, like, you have time for 15 minutes. Even 5 minutes will make a difference. So try it out today. You have nothing to lose. And if you want more, you can click on the link and you get 20% off an annual premium subscription as well. So just click on the button on the screen or head on over to brilliant.org/Georgia Dow. And clicking on that button really does help out this channel. So thank you so much to brilliant.org for sponsoring this video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. So this is a little bit of the psychology that made Homelander commit this atrocity and some of the things that made him so wounded and hurt. You can let me know what your thoughts are on Homelander and what happened to him in the comments below. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video, and you can check out my whole series on The Boys.